And the reasoning of the land judge is that if you are nominated, even if you are not qualified, the committee that nominated you has no right to call you back. I find that very odd, because even the Electoral Commission is always calling back people when it realizes that the nomination has been erroneous. But even then, we could say, let us move on, embrace the decision of the court, and carry on with the elections. We cannot guarantee that if we carry on with the elections, when there is a person who is clearly unqualified, and we're talking about constitutional requirements, not some requirements set under any other law, constitution, we cannot guarantee that a member will not challenge that process, and then we are back to square one. So it is only prudent to wait out, to have the appeal determined, and have a final pronouncement by the highest court. The only plea that I want to make to the judiciary is that instead of sitting on their hands and looking at Uganda Law Society crumbling and probably laughing in a corner, is to try and actually be proactive. Fast track the appeals. Let these appeals be heard very quickly, because if you thought as judiciary that the Judicial Service Commission will operate when Uganda Law Society is not involved, now we are guiding, as is our duty as Uganda Law Society, that that can't happen, at least legally. It cannot happen, it will not happen. So you are going to be impacted as judiciary. If you have magistrates that have to be appointed, they will not be appointed, at least not legally. If you have judges that want promotion, they will not be promoted, at least legally, because the Judicial Service Commission is not fully constituted. If we are going to go by the normal way of disposing of court cases in our courts that we know today with the current battle, it means we are going to sit here 4 years, the appeal is not determined, and we have no election. What does that mean for you as judiciary? But crucially, what does it mean for the public that is demanding for justice to be brought closer to them? I understand that there are so many magistrates that are waiting appointment because the government is trying to extend justice services closer to the people, to take the load off the magistrates in up-country courts that cannot handle the load that is on their back. This situation that we are in as Uganda Law Society is not one to be laughed at. It's one that the judiciary should embrace and find a way. Uganda Law Society has been a supporter of the judiciary in its struggles. Most of you are very young, but at least I was mature enough to see the attack on the High Court by the Black Mamba. That is a time when the judiciary was tried. Uganda Law Society stood with the judiciary. I remember the late Chief Justice Kisakye telling us to put our tools down to demonstrate the violation of the sanctity of court, what Justice Ogola termed as an attack on the temple of justice. We come the rape actually of the temple of justice. We stood with the judiciary, put down our tools. We didn't stop there. We even filed a constitutional petition to challenge those actions. Why is the judiciary sitting on their hands, looking at us, encouraging people, fanning flames, encouraging people to sue the society on flimsy grounds, and make the society unable to perform its functions in such a critical time when we are going into national elections? You all know the role Uganda Law Society plays in calling out government whenever there are excesses during elections. Is this a plan to silence the Uganda Law Society such that everything happens without any criticism? The judiciary should know that they don't have a voice. Their voice is through Uganda Law Society. We speak for them. We are the ones who speak for them. So they can't look at us and laugh in the corner when we are in problems, when we are being dragged in the mud by people who are actually fighting battles that we don't understand the cause for those battles. The other reason why we cannot proceed with an election, even if we wanted, is that we went to court. We went to court to defend what I think was a flimsy case. A member woke up, a member of the council woke up and overthrew the president and the vice president who we elected. And the president says, let us call a meeting of council and make a decision in respect to this member. And the member is suspended, not expelled, but suspended and referred to the extraordinary general meeting for a final decision. We all know, members, there is jurisprudence enough that preliminary decisions of administrative bodies that are not yet final are not ripe for judicial review. You have to wait for the final decision. We made these submissions. They were not considered. And for the first time, in the jurisprudence of Ugandan courts, we have had a court say that when you are suspended, you can actually challenge a decision to suspend you. Now, the court didn't stop there. It also made far-reaching pronouncements on the mandate of the Council of Uganda Law Society. The court says we cannot have decisions made by council except all members are present, 10 members. You can't move. You can't move. So it means if the Attorney General or Solicitor General are not able to make it for meetings as you already are not able to make it, you cannot make a decision. So you're stuck. It means that if you are deliberating on a matter where you are calling out government and you want to take certain action that affects government, you are not going to get the vote of the Attorney General, you're not going to get the vote of the Solicitor General. It means you want to move. But even now, it means that because we were nominated as candidates, but in order to be elected, it has to be at a general meeting. The general meeting is supposed to be convened by council. If you don't have 10 members, you cannot convene a general meeting. You all know that the council is made up of 10 members, including our president. Is he around? He's not around. It means we cannot sit. We cannot make any decision. So we thought it wise, personally, I think it's wise for these legal issues to be fleshed out. We think that's a wrong decision that was made against the society. The society should be able to function if it has a forum. We highlighted provisions of the Interpretation Act that talk about powers of statutory bodies and how they are exercised when there is no guidance on forum. And the provisions clearly say whenever an act of parliament gives powers to a body of people, more than one, to make decisions, the majority of those persons can make decisions. These submissions were cited before the judge and they were not considered, or if they were actually they were considered, and the judge said the Interpretation Act does not apply to Uganda Law Society. But the Interpretation Act is talking about the public body. So we are not here to argue the appeal in the rooms of Uganda Law Society. But all I'm saying is I want to highlight that the delay to elect members of Uganda Law Society as representatives to the Judicial Service Commission is not out of Uganda Law Society's own making. It is because of where we find ourselves, the position we find ourselves in. We did not sue ourselves. Uganda Law Society did not sue itself. Don't make that decision against itself. And we cannot proceed illegally by now running campaigns with some members qualified and others not qualified. We can't run a campaign and hold elections in meetings that people who are interested in suing Uganda Law Society, who have made it actually a job to now go and sue and earn costs from us. Me, I joined those proceedings to help court and shine a light on the things I'm talking about. But you can imagine, in a public interest matter, the court said the matter is dismissed, and all of us, including us who joined in good heart, try and help court and assist it come to a decision, and actually tried even to mediate, we were condemned in courts. We were condemned in courts. So I'm not prepared to participate in proceedings which people who have turned it into a job to sue another society will now sue us, and we are condemned in courts as the earning, we are condemned in costs. There is a price we can all pay, but it has a limit. So as I wind up, I want to say that I call upon the judiciary to realize that judiciary cannot perform its functions without the involvement of Uganda Law Society and its members. If we don't show up in courts, the judges will sit there with the litigants, and no one will proceed because the litigant will not proceed on a case where they have hired a lawyer. The only reason the lawyer is not coming because the working conditions of lawyers and the Uganda Law Society have become horrible, that you cannot be expected to get their hearing. There have also been voices among members that why don't we get all the 14 members who are nominated sent to the president and he appoints. I've heard those voices. Those voices, it's nonsense, as the Honorable Matembe has put it, because I have told you in the report of the Constitutional Making Commission, the public clearly expressed that those representatives should be elected. The court has also spoken. Now, you want me to participate in being appointed and then tomorrow charge the court? You all now know how contempt of court has been weaponized. You are in contempt of court, you are going to go to jail. So I think that it's important for the judiciary to come, support Uganda Law Society the way Uganda Law Society has stood with it in the thick and thin. Whenever they are attacked, society has issued statements in defense of judges. Society has issued statements in defense of magistrates. We expect the same treatment. Very finally, I think that for me, I've done over 15 years. I've done my part. Maybe 10 years from now, I'm not thinking about legal practice. Honorable Matembe is a retired general of the Uganda Law Society. It's upon you young people to embrace what the radical new guy is trying to do for you. Because if you ask me, you can ask me, why are you even here? I have my own law firm. I'm earning a living, I'm not looking for a job, but I'm trying to fight for you to make sure that you find a profession that you all admire to practice in. And you cannot find it except if, number one, you have a functional Uganda Law Society. Number two, you have a functional judiciary. And you can only have a functional judiciary if you have a judiciary which is independent. And you can only have a judiciary which is independent if you have an independent Judicial Service Commission. You can only have an independent Judicial Service Commission if the composition of that service commission itself is independent. Pick the Constitution, read Article 146, 2. Make up your mind whether that commission is independent or not. And if you find it's not independent, the debate for reform of the judicial system in Uganda starts with the reformation of the Judicial Service Commission. And it's going to be your task. Right now, we are highlighting only action points. We cannot deliver. I don't think that you back in 1 year can deliver this thing, but we are putting signposts, action points for you to pick up. Do not listen to people who are looking for short-term gain. Personally, I'm here. I can even tell you that I may not be interested anymore in becoming the representative of the Uganda Law Society, the Judicial Service Commission, because of the horrible environment in which I can see people serve in public service. I'm not prepared to go and fight battles that are really heading to nowhere. but I can continue to highlight these things using whatever platform that I have. So I don't care whether elections happen or they don't happen, whether I'm voted or I'm not voted, because I'm here to fight for my profession. I'm here to fight for my job, that if this law society is, if the law society is crippled, I cannot practice law. If the judiciary is not functioning, I have no job, I have no business in court. So you can only have your job protected if you have independent judiciary, which invariably depends on the independence of Judicial Service Commission. You can only have a functional judiciary if you have judges who are willing to be held accountable. By who? One, by the Judicial Service Commission, which itself must be independent. Two, by public, including lawyers, making comments on decisions that have been made. If you're going to have judges who don't want even to talk about decisions that they have been made, the decisions they have made, they don't want to be criticized. That's not the kind of judiciary you want. I want to end here, and if there are any questions, probably I'll take them later. Thank you very much for listening.
Politician, gender equality activist. She's a co-founding member and past chairperson of leading women's advocacy organization in Uganda, that is Action for Development. She has previously worked as a consultant on women and politics in Africa for National Democratic Institute, Club Madrid, ICCC, UNDP, among others. She has been instrumental in founding some regional women's organizations such as Women Law and Development in Africa, African Women's Development Network, and Center for Women in Government. I welcome you, Dr. Kisakye.
Yeah, because I would also like to see you. Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I'm extremely happy and very excited to have been invited to share my passion on this whole issue of gender equality and women's empowerment. I'm so excited and passionate about my topic that they told me yesterday I had to put aside something else I was supposed to do in order to be here and talk to you. And of course, I thank the Lord for that. And when I reached here and found you young people, what a great joy to be talking to your children and grandchildren. So that you may also know who is this woman. Because I know for you, tick tock tock, and they tell you lies at times. But today you are going to see me and hear what I'm talking about. And I'm so glad that I came here, by the way, to listen to you, Mr. Gaba, Sasira. Because I didn't know all these things going on. And as me, I feel like I'm dying in my heart inside me. And I said, I'm glad that I was invited here at a time in this very critical environment, which is so sad for us lawyers, really. The whole violation of human rights, and right now in Kawempe, last night I prayed, this morning I woke up and prayed that our children may not die and die for nothing. So I'm really happy to have even listened to you. And I'm glad, you know, at the time when I studied law, before I go far, that it was not automatic. It's because of our fight and struggle for gender equality and women's empowerment. That's why you are here. You know this. And so I am here to be able to hand over the baton. The baton? Hey, the baton to you. Since you don't know me and you hear about me, I can add on my introduction, because that one which was there never showed what I studied, what I did. But historically, as you have heard, I'm one of those first distinguished women in Uganda who studied law. If you count Ankole, where we, of course, in other areas, they were never there. You may find over we were how many, but now we are millions. And of course, they call me the Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe because I have a doctorate and master's in law. I'm not telling you this so that I can be proud. No, I want you to know the person who is talking to you and why she fights the way she does. And of course, I was a member of Parliament of Uganda for 20 years. Yes. During that time, I was one of the women out of the 21-member commission, the Odoki Commission, that crafted the Uganda Constitution. She was saying the review, and I was correcting you and saying, no, that is the first time can now take away your servant in peace. And Hannah, who was there and prayed, see, she's a woman, she remembered Hannah. And I want to say that you see why women are great. Simeon said, take your servant in peace. But Hannah said, oh my God, this is Jesus. And from that time, he started preaching about Jesus. You see how better we are? The men want to rest quickly. For us, we are resilient and persistent. I've already started the subject before I introduce it. Because me, I talk whatever comes to my head as it. Take your servant. Then I remembered Hannah. No, I said, no, I want to stay here and see and start the implementation of the Constitution. This is a Constitution, and I need to remind you, because we must quickly talk and others will come. You hear how I love the Constitution. You hear how passionate. You hear what we put. Ugandans said this is how we want to be governed. And the Article 1 says, what? All power belongs to the people of Uganda, who will exercise them freely. But where does power belong now to? Do you know who holds the power in Uganda? It seems to be this boy, whatever he is. The son of the president seems to be holding the power in Uganda. Because you know when they were beating those people there with tap, are they called tap or what? Jat. Then everybody denied. Minister of Internal Affairs didn't know. The police didn't know. All this didn't know. And yet, the young man was saying, we are going to deal with them and we shall kill them. So who has the power? Does the Constitution of Uganda still work? So how much pain do you think I have? Because when I was making it, even my back broke because the roads were so bad. And we were staying 24 hours working, climbing in 11th floor every morning to go to the office where we are working from, traversing the whole country, 24 hours writing the Constitution. I told you what I did. By the way, I didn't tell you I was even the first minister for ethics and integrity. And then I established the ministry because it was not there. But then ethics and integrity, on that day I told President, when he wanted to remove the presidential term limit, I told him, you cannot do that. That is corruption. Because I was the minister to fight corruption. I said that is corruption, unethical and corruption. Because you are violating and disagreeing with the Ugandans. And he said, get out of here. He chased me away. But I am still where? Here. And I can still talk. I can still talk because I stand for what? For justice, righteousness, and fairness, and equality. And as you know, justice and righteousness are the foundation of God's throne. And in this country, our founder members of Uganda, I made the Constitution after the country had been founded. But they founded Uganda on the strong foundation of God when they said, motto, for God and my country. A national anthem, they hand over Uganda into the hands of God to maintain it and sustain it. So for me, central to whatever I do or say is the God of Uganda. And so I told him, he chased me, but I'm still here, and he cannot shut me down because he has no powers over me. He didn't give me my mouth. I am here to inspire you. I am here to inspire you. I don't know whether I will talk about that topic, but whatever comes in my head is what I must tell you. So you can see justice, fairness, and equality. Who are supposed to be promoting and running with that? The lawyers. You hear? The lawyers. And when I listened when I listened to what he's saying, I said, and you know our Bible says, woe to you lawyers, doesn't it? Hey, when you are lawyers, you must be careful. Because in the Bible it says, woe to you lawyers, woe to you tax collectors, woe to you, hey. Unless you clean yourself up, you are finished. So I'm glad I'm here to talk to lawyers. And moreover, the young ones who are in this country when things have gone the other way. How we had created our nation to be, focusing at the principle of separation of powers, looking at the judiciary as a separate institution, the legislature and the executive. And you as lawyers know, they are not supposed to be parallel. They are supposed to be working together. But each of them has its role. And when you see this military court, the so-called military court, which is supposed to be a disciplinary committee under the military, now coming up to take over the role of the judiciary. This is part of the executive, taking over the role of the judiciary and swearing that they... Stupid. That's one idea. Okay, where had I reached? That's me talking. Now, I will remind you, what does the law, one of the commandments of God, or God's word says, thou shalt not do what? Judge. Thou shalt not judge. So that means that anybody who finds himself or herself in the judiciary, either judge, magistrate, or those people who are dealing with matters of judging others, they are sitting in that offices on behalf of God. It is like God sitting there because he's the only one who has the right to judge others. Do you know why I didn't become a judge? You know I would have become a judge. But I looked at myself, I assessed my passion to do with gender equality and women's empowerment. I said, no, there is no way I can be fair and judge fairly. If they brought a man and they said he was defiling a girl, I would convict before I listen to the case. Honestly, I'm telling you the truth. Because me, I look at myself, I convict myself, and I say, surely. Because the passion I have, the moment, like last night, I cried. I cried, I have my driver. She's always on WhatsApp. She's the one who shows me the TikTok. She's the one what they are putting there on me. So yesterday I was in a meeting. When I came out at about 8:30, he told me, Kawempe, they were stealing votes. They were already ticking. I said, what? You mean I said this leader of opposition, the vehicle shattered? When he told me all this, he put the video. He gave it to me. And as I saw the video, I saw this young man. I don't know whether he's still alive. I'm very passionate about these things. I don't know whether he's still alive. The media person who had gone to play his part, he was dying. I don't know whether he's still alive. But such things are happening, and here we are. When I was in senior 1 or 2 at Weranyanji Girls, do we have WOGA members here? No. That's when I read the book, Cry for My Beloved Country. Did you study literature or you studied other books? Did you read that?
I did literature, but not that.
It was entitled For South Africa, Cry, My Beloved Country. Very good. The media person, they read. So that's where I am. Cry for my beloved country. Otherwise, and I want to say that those judges, even those magistrates, even they know, they are sitting in those chairs, they are now disorganizing the law society, but people are really ignorant. I don't understand. I'm not here to abuse my senior. Yeah, how many are senior there, mom? Eh? There are very few who are senior. They are senior in positions, but not senior in, in wisdom. And the older you become, the more wise you become if you are not a fool. Eh? So I did not intend to abuse my seniors in the judiciary. But for sure, like the case which I had, I've never been a judge. I've never practiced law, by the way. Because when I studied law, I studied it not to be an advocate, but to, what do you call it? Advocacy. Advocacy. I wanted to challenge, to know what the law is saying, to run with it and use it to question and challenge gender injustices, unfairness, inequality. Because for me, my God-given purpose in my life is to fight for equality, justice, and fairness, but with particular emphasis on women and the girls, and I will tell you the reason. And so for me to be talking to the lawyers, I'm talking to the right people who should actually be joining me and cooperating with me as we run and fight. We run with the battle of fighting against inequalities, injustices, and unfairness. So you are the right people. That's why today I abandoned everything. I said, let me go and recruit, co-workers with me so that we can fight this thing. So I wonder how judges can disorganize the law society when in fact they are meant to be members of the law society. I remember when the Temple of Justice, as Justice Ogora called it, when it was raped, I came, we sat in our compound there. Praise God, by the way, for this building. For this building. I was talking to the man who called me. I said, I don't know where you went. I only see Karijire who took over our space. Where are you? He said, no, we worked. And I came in and I saw this marvelous building. I said, God, you are fair to us. We shall reach there. I was very excited and very happy. Because I remember when we came, we sat in our compound with the tents there. And we said, no. And it was again over Besije, by the way. This Besije man, if they don't be careful, he's central to our problems. Because it was Besije again. Because the member, I think he was in court, and they came and brought the members, and they hijack, what do you call it? They abducted him and went, and we said, no, not in our courts, not that. Remember, we came and sat here, and this Jacob Oranyuba had just been appointed deputy speaker or what? The late Jacob one. And we said, no, you are joking. You can't defy our temple of justice. And we mobilized ourselves as law society, and we said we are not going to work for 3 days, hands up. And you know what? We went to that court, our old court, and we went and cleansed it. Hey, we are serious. We went to and prayed holy water and cleansed our court. And now these are the very people now who are abusing the temple of justice, who are now fighting the law society, when they should be combining with us. What sort of justice are they to deliver? So as I talk now, for me, I know, and I want you to join me in your minds, that we do not have institutions in this country. Even the executive is not there. It is in one person like this, one person and his son and family ruling this nation. And it is so sad. And therefore, you as young people, you should not bow down and succumb to that. Okay? So now, let me go to the topic before my time is over. Now my topic is, I mean, we are celebrating, actually, we finished Women's Day. And even Women's Week is over. But people kept calling me, come, it is now Women's Month. Now we are celebrating what? Women's Month. And I thank the Lord because I have really been all over the place talking about this subject which I'm passionate about, which even when I am 19 years out of work, you know, when I left the ministry, when they chased me, the parliament said, welcome back home, because the ministry was even shutting you down. So eventually, they elected me to be I'm one of the founder members of Pan-African Parliament. So I represented Uganda at Pan-African Parliament when we founded it in Addis, where I worked for 2 years. And from that time when I finished, they made sure they fought me I don't go back to be a politician. They fought me everywhere. Imagine, they chased me away. I was at 53 years. That was the end of my work for this nation. Any official work for this country? No. Nowhere. And I don't mind. And they chased me. No gratuity, no pension, no nothing. And I had worked for Uganda for 30 good years. No, not even in this udari, medals. Not even a medal, I tell you. And yet I was at the forefront of this, to the extent that in 1998, I received an award, a world award, as one of 100 women heroines of the world who had tremendously impacted and became fearless and courageous role models for the African women. I have that. So what is Narukering Mudad? If I have the other one. You know why I'm sharing my story to you briefly? Is to show you, don't fear. Don't fear anything. Don't fear for a job. Don't fear. 19 years is going to 20. Am I not alive? Am I not speaking? Am I not talking? Why? Because God gave me a purpose. You young men and ladies, you need to know God's purpose for your life. What is your vision in life? My vision in life as a girl child was to study law. At 9 years, I had made up my mind to study law. By 16, after O-level, I learned that law is made in parliament. I enlarged my dream to become a parliamentarian, because I wanted to know what the law is saying and challenge it. And if it is not saying good about women and girls, then I would go and make the law. And can you believe it, how God can give you a purpose and enable you to fulfill it to the maximum ability? I was intending to get one law, to get a platform and talk in my village in Urutoma. I ended up talking not at my village, but at national level, but at international level, and becoming influential and getting that kind of award on my purpose. You think it was me doing it? By God's grace. I wanted one degree, I ended with. By the way, the third doctorate, don't think I studied it. When I had finished and I was walking all over, talking about gender equality and so on, imagine the University of Victoria in Vancouver, I had never even gone there, not in Canada, but they are the one who invited me to award me distinctively with an honors degree of law, doctorate, honors degree for the work I had done in the area of gender equality and women's empowerment. Therefore, I'm now the Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe, by the grace of God. And I am still there, whether I have a office or not, because Maxwell says that a leader's courage to pursue her vision or his vision does not depend on office, but on the passion she has for that. So before I go anywhere, young men and young women, be able to identify God's purpose for your life. And when you are serving it with that commitment, unwavering commitment, fearless like Jesus Christ did, God holds your hand. I'm telling you, God has been holding my hand. I don't have a home. I have a green. I think my home should be called the green. Only shrubs and trees, no fence, no wall, no what. But I can come and bash everybody and go there and enter my gate because the angels are guarding. Because I have not finished God's purpose for my life. So don't fear. You just identify that purpose and follow it as you obey God. And by the way, if I can quote for you, when shall I do this thing? But don't worry. For me, when they call me, I go with a presentation. When I start talk, what God puts in my head is what I pour out there. Okay? So don't worry. Already I'm talking about gender equality. Why not? I want to tell you, I saw that you don't read the Bible. I want to tell you that if you lawyers read, don't they? And I'm sure these ones read so seriously. Because the law that governs our land everywhere is right from the Bible itself. That's where it springs from, I'm telling you. If you don't believe that the Bible is a word of God, like me, I believe, you just know that it is a very historical, critical word of wisdom that can give you a direction to where you want to go. Now I'm on the purpose. I want to refer you to the Bible again so that you get this thing. This thing of purpose is very crucial as you young people. Don't just work anyhow. I want to be a judge. I want to be a magistrate. They corrupt you. Is that where God wants you to be? You may go there and suffer. Me, I suffer nothing. I can talk 24 hours because God gave me the mouth to talk, and so I don't even get tired. And He gives me the words to speak. Okay? So, in the book of Genesis at the beginning, God created Adam. Okay? At least all of you know that. Unless you are those who believe in being monkeys and raising up human beings. I always wonder, why do they stay monkeys? Why aren't all the monkeys risen up? But God created Abraham and said, He told him, this is the purpose. He said, you go and tender the garden. Nurture the garden. You hear? That is the purpose. Adam was to tender the garden and make sure the garden is safe and well. And as he tended the garden, he was to eat the fruits of what? Of the garden. That is provision. As you serve God's purpose, you are provided for. Then there was the other part. Eat all the fruits, but don't touch the one in the middle. So God gives you purpose. He gives you provision, but within prohibition. If you are getting the purpose and you are getting provision and you go and get corrupt, don't you lose it? Yes, Adam lost it. When he failed to tender the garden in the right way and he violated the prohibition, he lost it. So in short, don't worry about what. You identify God's purpose for your life and start serving it in such a way that gives God glory. And let service to God and His people be central to executing your purpose. Okay, now a little bit now. I know I have done enough, but let's now go to because our theme is accelerating action for gender equality and women's empowerment. And all of us, who is supposed to accelerate this action? It is all of us. But you cannot accelerate this action when you don't know what the problem was. And that's the short thing I will tell you about gender equality and women's empowerment. Because many of the young people now are saying, but why women? Why women? Do you know the boy child? Am I coming to empower your son? When you produce your son, why don't you empower him yourself? Because they don't understand what is going on. But what I want to say, let me begin with this. Why? Why celebrate women? Why accelerate action? Why is it? This is the reason. You know, Aristotle, the father of political science, said that a state is a union of families and villages. Family is the basic unit in society, which is the foundation of the state itself. Family is the foundation of the state itself. Happy families create a healthy society, and a healthy society is a prerequisite of a strong political order in democratic societies. A healthy society is a prerequisite of strong political order in democratic societies. No wonder we don't have strong democratic societies. A woman is an architect of society. You hear? With all this, a woman is central, is the architecture. You know the architectures, these who draw whatever for buildings. She establishes the institution of family life, builds the home, brings up the children, and makes them good citizens. Her strength in totality contributes in the making of an ideal family, ideal society, and an ideal state. The position of women in any society is the indicator of health of the state. Whatever is going on in this country, as you can see, central to whatever is happening to humanity is women. And yet, sadly, although all this important information is not, all this important information is not duly recognized, and as a result, women continue to be relegated to a very low status and thus incapacitated from discharging their useful roles to their nations because of various barriers. You hear, we are so important, we are so great, we are so, in fact, even without going to Aristotle, I can still go back to my Bible. In Genesis, it says, when God created man, he said it was not good for man to remain alone. He saw that man was incomplete and helpless. And yet God has created man for a purpose, to relate with him, to praise him and thank him for the good creation, and to be in relation with him, and to hand over the governance of what God has created. But when God looked at man, by the way, he was seated there like a statue because he was not even talking. He was just incomplete, not talking, and helpless. And God looked at it and said, it is not good. This man cannot remain like this because he cannot discharge the responsibility I created him for. So they decided, the Trinity decided, that we must create what? A suitable helper for this otherwise helpless and meaningless man. Because he was meaningless, he was incomplete. I'm telling you, this is the truth. You can't question God. You can question Aristotle, but not God. So God looked at, and said, what do we do? And God created a woman. God created a woman from what? From the rib of a man. Let me tell you, a woman in the eyes of God is a real special creation, purposely created to bring meaning and complete and help the otherwise incomplete, meaningless, and helpless man. And that's why, in fact, when a woman was being created, there was a conference in heaven among the Trinity. Where do we create this woman from? They could have created us from the toe so that these men kick us around the way they do. They could have created us from the bottom here. They say we are weak. They could have created us from the flesh and then we are weak and they sit on us the way they do. They could have created us from the back behind there so that they leave us behind the way they do. Or God could have created us from the top on the head so that we are also on top of them. But God was looking for a suitable helper, somebody suitable. He went to the side of man and got what? A rib. The Bible tells us man was created from what? From the clay down here. But for us, we are created from a finer and hard material, finer and tougher. You get it? These people, they amaze me. They say, when they say that we are weak, Simani, we are not whatever it is. First of all, we are all they have. Whatever they are, we do what? We have. And then God added on us. Do you know that? You women, do you know that? Because the bone is from them. So whatever is in their bone, we have. And then on top of that, God calculated something that would be improve his creation. I'm telling you, you men, to hear me, to know when you are underrating your sisters or your brother or your sisters, your mothers or your wives or what. No, we came with something special on top of who you are, because we come from your bone. Moreover, not your flesh, although you called us flesh of the flesh. Yes, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. You know, when Adam looked at the side and found this wonderful woman, all of a sudden life entered the man. We are life bringers. We complete God's creation. I can see the men are not amazed. Some of them are looking at WhatsApp, but I'm telling you the true facts. You need to learn this thing. We are here to accelerate gender equality and women's empowerment. You can't accelerate it unless you know the truth of the matter. So we got from this bone, which is harder, which is tougher, which is finer, and as soon as man saw the woman, life entered him. And he said, bone of the bone, flesh of the flesh. He got filled up. And if you read the Bible, it's when man was filled up and the two, God looked at the two, he said, complete. This is perfect. That's when he assigned them the responsibility. He said, go and procreate. You joke with women. We procreate from our wombs. Can you imagine? God could have told man, you go and procreate. Could have said, go and manage my creation. Something was missing. Until he got this one. When the two became one, he said, oh, perfect. My creation is perfect, and therefore, procreate. He delegated his responsibility to create human beings to what? To us, as with men. But the truth is that we are the factories where we nurture these people. We nurture them in our homes. These men are workers in the factory. You know, factories need workers. Why do I call them workers? Some work one night like this. Don't you know them? They work that night. 1 second, consumption. They run away. You never see them again. But this woman, because she's a factory, she nurtures the pregnancy, she suffers with it, she goes and delivers, she breastfeeds, she brings up this important man who becomes a president of a nation without even knowing the worker who worked. So in relation to that, really tell me, who is so crucial to humanity? Who is so crucial to humanity? I'm not telling you men, I don't want to demean you, but I want you to get this thing. When it enters your head, that's when you will help us to fight. And I want to the good news I have for the men listening to me is that we are not fighting for women as such. We are fighting for humanity, because the minimum, a man has minimum four women in his life, minimum. You have your mother, you have your sister, you have your wife, you have your daughter. Minimum. So when Matembe says, please, rights for the women have rights, you know I'm fighting for you 4 times. that your mother, your daughter, your sister, they should all be well. And since I'm talking to lawyers, really, you help me in this matter. I hope from today you are going to get me. Now I've told you, I've told you those kind of things, but I can't leave that without telling you the kind of help. I want to open your eyes. This Adam was in the garden, just eating fruit, but he was helpless. And Eva came to help her, to help him. What kind of help do you think Eva was to give? Because there were no plates to wash, there was no food to cook, there were no beds to make, there were no your shoes to brush. You must brush your husband's shoes. You must. Were they ties? These coats, were they there? Yeah. So what kind of help did God mean? God meant intellectual help. God meant be fab, wisdom, intellect, emotionally. You know, that was what was lacking. I'm not telling you not to go and cook for your husband or wash plates, but the central to the help of God was beefing up the man's brain, and we have got an additional sense. Women, they're so close to God that if you hold your wife well, you'll see what benefits you'll get. And even the word of God says, he who finds a good wife finds a good thing and gets favor from the Lord. And that's why you need, do you know who finds a wife? And the other scripture says, a good wife comes from the Lord. Because he's the one who knows which rib is yours. The ribs are there. He's the one, he knows where to fix the rib, that your rib is yours. Bananga, you people, me, that's how I live my life, knowing this God who created us and how good he is. So having explained to you all those values, all those important parts of women, they are not recognized. They are barriers. Which are these barriers? The barriers is ignorance. Which ignorance? The real ignorance I'm telling you about. Lack of knowing the value and importance of a woman to humanhood. Importance of a woman to humanity. Without us, there's no humanity, I'm telling you. That's why I'm calling upon you. Go and help me to deliver this message everywhere. That's when we shall accelerate to break these barriers. Then the second type of ignorance, that is non-formal ignorance. Then there is the formal, the informal. Is it informal and non-formal? The lack of education. Lack of education. Because they think we are useless, we are just girls, we are just women, we are denied equal rights for education and everything. You hear? Then the next barrier is cultural and customary practices and attitudes. The attitudes both men and women have towards who a woman is. Those are the most even dangerous one. But the effect, the bad one is when I have my cartoon. If you go and Google Matembe, you'll one day found a cartoon which I was drawing for my talk. Ignorance is the best barrier. If we can do away with that ignorance, which ties the hands of a woman and cut the chain, then the woman will participate in delivering and cutting the other chains that bind her. So cultural and customary practices and attitudes are central also. Then legal discrimination and inadequacy. But that one we fought it. What we have now is the lack of what? Implementation of what we got. Except that failing to get the law of marriage and divorce is something which shocks me. We've been fighting to get that law for the last 61 years. And even up to now, it is not coming. Because that law is central to empowerment. Because the law will determine what is marriage, who is a woman, what is she as a parent in the parent's home, will she have property or what? When they marry, what is their responsibilities, what are their rights. But because men love property so much, that's why they refuse women to have money. These men you see, when they marry you, they would rather have you without money. Am I lying? Not all of men. Some exceptional men are okay, but for me, I fought for my right. I said, look here, Miria, hello. I have to have money. I have to have my property. I have to. And so I delivered myself. Some of you will have to deliver yourself. Some of you, that's why you are not getting men to marry you. They fear empowered girls. They are fearing empowered women because they can't rule you and step on you. We are not meant to be ruled. We are meant to work as partners. Do you rule over your law society? When it is law society, I mean the partnership of advocates, you work together. You don't rule over one another. And then, of course, religious misinterpretation and misapplication. You came from a rib. You are just a small part of man. Small part of man. I came to help. And then they say man is the head. If he's the head, did God say I'm a foot? I'm the neck. Because it is the neck which helps the head to turn around and see the right direction. You get it? You can't put me on the foot or whatever. But these scriptures say so. So we must fight those religious misinterpretation and misapplication. And then these four, they combine together to make us poor. So women are poor. Poor. Generally, women are poor. They are meant to be poor and be beggars. Akasente karwa. That's why I see people kameza. Akameza. I want to tell you women, whoever is listening to me, whether virtual here, God never created a helper for a woman. God created a woman to help man. And so no. If you are suffering and you don't have consent, look to God, He's your helper. We have a special relationship. Me, when I'm suffering with problems or what, I don't go to Matembe, I go to my altar, I say, God, you created me without a helper, therefore you are my helper. I'm supposed to help this man. If I'm helpless, the man will be worse off. So please help me so that, and then he releases his help to me. So that's why you should go. So now what is empowerment? Haven't I told you what prevents the women from being empowered? What empowerment has many, many meanings, but because of time, I will just be short and I will tell you that in my presentation, I'm looking at empowerment as it relates to women. As used by feminists, empowerment means a process by which oppressed persons gain some control over their lives by taking part with others in the development of activities and structures that allow people increased involvement in matters that affect them directly. They should never say, this a woman cannot do this, this a woman. No, we are all human beings. We should not be oppressed. We must participate in matters and decisions that concern us. There should not be for us without us, things for us without us. In this case, it means equipping women with knowledge, information, and skills to effectively participate in decision-making that affect their lives and the lives of their nation. We should get skills, knowledge, instead of leaving us in the village. There are these communities who marry off girls, 13, 14. I've been fighting. I go and grab the cows and bring back the girls. It is so bad, I'm telling you. They look at women as chattels, as objects, and therefore they cannot bother, waste their money to give them education. When at my life, at my time, that's what it was. They were laughing at my father. Imagine selling even his cows or whatever to pay this one. She's going to marry and produce. Do you see why it is so sad? That the factory which is supposed to be producing is the one which is neglected. You don't put water, you don't put equipment, you don't put what? How do you expect it to do what it should do? Do you get these things really? When you see us fight, don't think we just want to take over your places. Because we were not also created from the head. We can't be at the head. We just want to get the rightful position at your side and work together with you and think together, and where you are not clear, I clear you up because I have special idea from God to make you better. So we are not fighting you. We are not fighting you. You need to know that. So, giving women ability to challenge the gender inequalities that exist in societies so that the resources can be properly and equitably managed for the enjoyment of all citizens. Why should I be your house, the wife who is married? Do you know that men say they marry engineers, they marry doctors, and they say, I don't want you to work. You stay here at home and take care of children. Hey, only take care of children. Why shouldn't I discuss with you as to why? Since I'm even earning more money, don't you also stay at home? And I'm the one now who works. These are the issues. I love it. When my sons don't have jobs and the women are working, my sons stay at home, they cook food, they do all this, and they remain happy. They stay happy. But this business, I'm a man. Now men have stayed in trousers only. Many men, with many men we only see trousers, and yet we also now wear trousers. So now what is the big deal? What is the big deal? There is something more special of being a man. It is not just talking. You are the vision bearer. You get the thing? God created you to be vision bearers, okay? So for your family, for your nation. But there was something missing that you could not bear this vision very clear alone. So he brought this woman to beef you up so that you bear the vision as she supports you to implement the vision. That's what it is supposed to be. I wish I could get into the minds of people that we would not suffer anymore. So, as the information goes, as the word goes, information is power. Me, when they say empower women, I want men to be empowered also with knowledge and information about this gender inequality. Because when they get empowered with it, they can help us to fight this thing. So most of men and women in Uganda knew the need. They need to know the need and the importance and value of women's humanity so that they can help us to fight for it. So that is empowerment. I'm not saying you become a man. No. Know who you are. Know what God created you to be. Let the man know that. Then you too, having got this information, you get skills, you work together for the betterment of your lives, the betterment of your families, the betterment of society, and the betterment of our nation, Uganda. Now, empowerment of women cannot be achieved without gender equality. You get it? You can't empower them when they don't have equality to opportunities, equality to rights, equality. Equality does not mean a man being equal to who? To a woman, or a woman being equal to man. No, they were all created separately and distinctively. But gender equality means that women and men have equal conditions for realizing their full human rights and potentials to contribute to national, political, economic, social, and cultural development, and to benefit equally from the results of their contribution. It is essential equal enjoyment by women and men socially valued goods, opportunities, resources, and rewards. Even if we agree that for you, since we are having good new babies, I'm your wife, we are having babies, but because you are more specially knowledgeable and positioned to rear these children and nurture them, you stay at home while me I go to work. But as I stay at home, I am working. I am working. I'm taking care of you and these children. But down the road, when there is a challenge, they say, what was the man doing? What was the woman doing? I nurtured the children. They are in senior school. They have got degrees. Did I do nothing? That when we come to sharing, I'm chased out of the home, of the house, because I didn't build it, because I was not earning cash. Surely, you lawyers, you, and you the one who wants justice and fairness and equality, please rise up, both men and women, and fight and accelerate the fight for gender equality and women's empowerment, because it is for the good of the nation and it is good for each individual. Attaining gender equality demands recognition that current social, economic, culture, and political systems are gendered. That women's unequal status is systematic. It is system which we must uproot, affected by race, ethnicity, and disability. And it is necessary to incorporate women's specific priorities, values into all major social institutions. That's why we say affirmative action. Why? Because inequality is systematic. It is built within the systems. It is within the norms. It is so we must dismantle the systems, and so we must specifically address the inequalities. If I give you an example, for instance, our biological makeup make us vulnerable. So many things which men are not vulnerable to. If you remember during COVID, so many girls, thousands of girls were defied, were raped, and I think they are rotting somewhere, many of them. But men or boys of the same age or what, who made them pregnant, continued in schools. They studied. They are still enjoying life. But those women, so inequality, the system, the vulnerability that we have makes us, seek for special attention and consideration, and that's why we want it. So it is important to recognize that gender equality must be promoted in ways that are appropriate to each particular context, and I want to tell you that fighting for gender equality and women's empowerment is a journey. It is a journey. It is not a one-day activity. The people say, these women, they've been fighting. So what? So you people, do you know the journey we have really walked? Very, very heavy, very effective, very beneficial, seeing women in all areas of education, engineer, they are driving trucks, they are flying aeroplanes. My God, it was never that. It was not there. That's why I give credit and hear it loud and don't get it out of context. I applaud President Museveni and the NRM government. NRM, President Museveni 1, not President Museveni 2. Those people who came from the bush and came saying, women, where are you? Why I specifically thank him is because I had been dying with my dream to rise up and talk for women and talk with women and shout for justice. But although I had got my law, I was seated there because the environment was simply not conducive to justice and fairness, and especially for equality. But when NRM won, when they came from the bush, they said, women, where are you? And we jumped on the bandwagon, and that's where women in Uganda reached where they reached. But unfortunately, they are going in reverse because President Museveni too, with his fake party called NRM, if you are NRM, that's up to you, called NRM party. NRM was never to be a party. NRM was a national resistance movement. In our bus, all of us, they grabbed it. They started stealing long ago. Corruption in their government. They stole the movement and went and turned it into what? Into a party. And that number 2 went astray, went off the track. If we remained on the track for gender equality and women's empowerment, we wouldn't be shouting now. Now we have more women in government, in all institutions. They are there without power but serving power. They are in power without power but serving power. We've been shouting that we need women at the table of decision making. I told you equality is about and empowerment about decision making. We want women at the table of decision making. At the table. Do you know what NRM does? He gets women and puts them on the table as a menu. They become a menu. You get it? When you are at the table, the menu is on the table. Then they ask you, what do you want? Give me the menu. Now the women are the menu at the table in the governance of NRM. And that's why actually the thing says, activate. Activate, because it is what? It is accelerate. Because it is now what? Dormant. The struggle went for. I must finish. I think I've said enough. What more haven't I said? Now, yeah. So I will finish there. So it is important to recognize that gender equality must be promoted. I think I said that. Importance of gender equality. Gender equality is both an essential element of any development process. It is essential for a development process, and it is a result of sustainable development. The creation of equal opportunities for women and men is important because it allows women to realize their capacity and potentials by actively participating in economic, social, and political life of the society, and thus accelerates social and economic development. Gender inequality hinders sustainable human development because evidence demonstrates that when women and men are relatively equal, economies tend to grow faster and the well-being of women, men, and children are enhanced. And therefore, it is very, very important to have gender equality and women's empowerment because it is central to the development of our nation. It is even central to attaining human rights. Do you think if we had as many women, I'm not applauding myself, but if we had as many women who know the knowledge I have, which I get from revelation, it is not from the books I read, but God reveals many of these things to me. And if we were there, as mothers of this land, we would even be the one to fight for the young boys that are being killed. Now, when you see these young boys of Noop, when you see these people suffering, where are the women in parliament? We were 39 women when we are pursuing this journey. When we made people reach where they reached, we increased to about over 90 or what, but now there are 190 whatever in parliament. But when the young boys are being beaten, are being tortured, have you heard the voice of those women in RM talking? Have you heard them talking? When our man, our husband, one of our husbands, Kisakye, because Winnie Byanyima was with us at the forefront of this thing, that's why these women are all in parliament. We were not earning much. They are earning all the money. But now he's arrested illegally, he's abducted illegally, he's suffering. Have you heard any woman of NRM coming out and say no? And yet, when some few women got on the street to say, please, this man is dying in prison, they were arrested crudely. And I saw the women police stripping them naked. And I said, where are the women, the mothers of this land? Where are they? Do you think if they were empowered in the type of empowerment I'm talking about, we wouldn't rise up and help this nation? And as I conclude, I want to tell you as young people, if you young people could join us, we your mothers, we could redeem this nation from just a clique of a few people who think that they are the ones who matter. I'm not here to incite you to refuse, to reject the government. I want you to reject what is wrong, to reject it and know what we should be doing, you in your own capacity. And therefore, I finish by saying, please, accelerating gender equality and women's empowerment for the development of this nation is on our head. Each as an individual, as institutions, as the professionals, as all of us, it is upon us. And I have told you what we need to do to know in order to accelerate it. Because when we don't, we are going nowhere. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much.
To where? Is there anybody who doesn't know English? Which public? I will address the press. Because there is somebody else who wants to speak, isn't it? The third presenter. Yeah, I will talk to you. Hey, I'm here to talk to you, you lawyers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miria Matembe. We really appreciate.
Oh, thank you.
Allow me to take this opportunity to recognize the presence of our treasurer, Mr. Isiko Arthur. You're welcome.
Is it one?
I also wish to recognize the presence of Mr. Paul Muchivi, our third speaker this afternoon. Mr. Muchivi is an advocate and founding partner of Muchivi and Cheyune Advocates. He is also the head of Department Law Reporting, Research, Law Reform at Law Development Center. I now take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Muchivi to address us.
Thank you so much, our CEO, Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe, my colleague, Isiko Arthur, our treasurer, my opponent, the contestant, Dennis Kusasira, all colleagues in the house present, and our viewers there, all the members of the bar, bench, legal fraternity, and the public. I greet all of you and welcome you to this segment. I'm sorry I came in late. I had another engagement. I missed Dennis's segment, but I don't doubt him. He must have done justice to it. Thank you so much, and also appreciate Dr. Miria for that elaborate empowerment. One thing I took home, women are in power, but not empowered. I don't know whether you heard that very well. It is very, very critical to me, and it's something that should worry us. Why are they in power but not empowered? That is something very critical. Mine is about the independence of the judiciary and gender-based discrimination in Uganda in the wake of executive investigations against Honorable Dr. Justice Esther Kisakye. Good enough, we have just heard about women discrimination among other issues. So I will not dig so much into that, but this is a very topical area which is very pertinent, and it should cause concern to any practitioner, to any member of the bar, to any member of the bench specifically, and it is something we shouldn't take light. As members of the bar, members of the bench, we need to rise up and defend judicial independence. Otherwise, if there's no judicial independence, there is no bar, there is no bench, and our profession stands at a very, very high risk. I would want, in the interest of time, to delve into the highlights concerning this area. You may well know all that sometime back in 2021, after the presidential elections that took place then, there was a petition by Honorable Chagulanyi, commonly known as Bobby Wine, that is the president of NUP, against Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And that petition raised quite a number of concerns, specifically regarding the quorum, where one of the justices was supposed to deliver a dissenting opinion. And that dissenting opinion caused a lot of commotion, whereby she complained of so many things, which I will later highlight. But the current appointment of a tribunal by His Excellency is to investigate the conduct. That is the purpose. Some of you have seen the instrument. It has been shared severally. And the major thing, there are several terms of reference, but all summarized. They are trying to investigate the conduct of Honorable Dr. Justice Esther Kisakye, whom we all know currently is in exile. Allegedly, her conduct during this matter, this petition. Now, at the back of this issue, we need to know that there are so many legal, constitutional, and human rights issues that arise, and also issues concerning independence of the judiciary, and also issues to do with specifically female justice. I'll also delve into that because she's not the first of the kind to have this kind of problem. The question will be, why is the approach changing on her and the approach was different on the others? So we have quite a number of international, regional, and domestic instruments that guide us on independence of the judiciary and also investigating the conduct of a judicial officer, if at all a problem has arisen. I don't want to go too much into the legal literature, but critical of them, we have the UN-based principles on the independence of the judiciary, specifically principle number 19. We have Article 7 of the African Charter, Article 14 of the ICCPR, and domestically, we have Article 28 of the Constitution, and we also have Section 11, and later on, Section 11 of the Judicial Service Act, that is Cap 87, and later on, the Judicial Service Complaints and Disciplinary Proceeding Regulations. Critically, Rule 10, Sub-Rule 1 is very critical. All that summarized, they give independence of the judiciary and also allow a fair due process. If you are handling any complaint, whether it is a properly constituted tribunal investigating the conduct of a judicial officer. And the most important thing is to safeguard the autonomy of the bench and also safeguard judicial independence. In Uganda, we are grappling with quite a number of issues affecting judicial independence. You are all aware we are still struggling with the issue of judges in acting capacity. The matter was taken to Constitutional Court, that is Dr. Usinje Kavumba and another against the AG, and the Constitutional Court pronounced itself on the matter that acting capacity is wrong and it interferes in the independence of the judiciary, among other issues. However, the AG appealed to the Supreme Court and also stayed the implementation of some of the orders. Subsequently, we have been having appointments of judicial officers, specifically judges of the High Court, still in acting what? Capacity. Even with the recent appointment, those that have just taken oath and are yet to be deployed have also been appointed in acting what? Capacity. Now, at the back of this, you also need to know what some have gone through while in acting capacity. We already have the issue of Justice Bukira that has also raised very, very many concerns while in acting capacity. And the very concern that comes up now when Dr. Justice Kisakye wanted to deliver her dissenting opinion. There are very many important questions that we need to ask ourselves. A tribunal has been established under the law by virtue of, that is Article 144 of the Constitution. The President appoints this tribunal. Mind you, the respondent in the case in 2021 was the appointing authority, and the dissenting opinion was against him. Now here comes, he appoints the tribunal to investigate somebody giving a decision against. There are quite a number of legal concerns that do arise in here. But before that, you are aware that Justice Kisakye made a press conference immediately after the incident and addressed the journalists and complained about, among others, how her file was confiscated and other issues. Subsequent to that was disciplinary commenced by the Judicial Service Commission against her, which she also complained the manner in which they were also handled. Thereafter, a lot was happening, some known to the public, some not known, until the justice filed a petition in the Constitutional Court. So she filed a petition in the Constitutional Court, and I want to highlight some of the issues she raised that, which are very critical, and also pose a question as to whether we can have the tribunal running when the petition is also in court and not yet what? Determined. So some of the key issues or points of concern she's putting before the Constitutional Court. One, she's saying issue of obstruction of justice by the CJ. She raised that complaint that there was obstruction of justice by the CJ in that petition. Secondly, she raises the issue of violation of judicial independence. The third she raises is the lack of due process. The fourth is about discriminatory treatment. The fifth is denial of leave and medical benefits. These are some of the things maybe the public may not be aware that she was denied leave, medical benefits, salary was also halted, among other issues. Then removal from the judiciary payroll. This is a justice of the Supreme Court, and if I'm not mistaken, she's among the senior in the Supreme Court. Then, okay, I've mentioned removal from the payroll. These are matters the Constitutional Court is supposed to pronounce itself on. And as I talk today, I've not heard about any hearing date for that petition, though it is now about 2 years having been what? Filed. 2 years or close to that. So it is something very, very challenging. In view of that petition, a tribunal has been established. Recently in February, the instrument came out appointing a tribunal and giving it terms of reference. The conduct of this very what? Justice. So we are saying that the manner in which this is moving puts the tone of the rule of law to test. It actually confirms that the judiciary is in crisis, as it has always been. If you are going to be investigated for your dissenting opinion, it is something very, very serious. We need not to take for granted. Also, it is important to note that there is an element of also gender discrimination. Why? We have had an incident happening on another serving judge of the High Court. You've heard about Justice Chaudhry before. And when for him his matter reached that level, he was allowed early retirement. And remember, Dr. Kisakye applied for this, which was also done what? Rejected. I'm alive to the fact that each case can be handled on its own what? Facts. But we need to know parameters where facts are changing and the approach is what? Changing. So, looking at this issue, it causes a lot of many questions and broader implications for the rule of law in the country. And as we stand, it is going to be very hard for judges in acting capacity, whom we have now, to be independent. Actually, the whole concept of acting capacity totally eradicates judicial independence. Because the question is, who is going to give you the instrument of confirmation? Who issues that instrument of confirmation as a judge? So how will you balance conflict of interest handling a matter where state has interest and you still need confirmation? The whole concept doesn't work out at all. But that is where we are. And we are asking ourselves, judges acting for 2 years, are they acting independently? Do they deliver decisions independently? That is a wider question. But what about those who are not in acting capacity? Dr. Kisakye was not in acting capacity. She was a full justice long ago appointed and confirmed. Actually, by then there was no issue of acting capacity. But also now undergoing the same test. She's in exile as we talk, and tribunal has been established to investigate her. What does this speak to? Rule of law, especially independence of the judiciary, and also what does it take the independence of the legal fraternity away from executive control? These are questions that require hard answers. And these are questions that require bold moves and bold approaches to address them. Incidentally, those in power may not want to hear some of these issues, but they are very critical issues, because if we keep quiet, we are killing the profession. You will never practice law because you go to court knowing the judge is not independent. You are at God's mercy. The decision you get, you are just at God's what? Mercy. You are in court with very good evidence, but you are always on prayer. You are even praying and fasting to win a case, even when you have good what? Evidence. And even you have no guarantee that your prayer and fasting will be what? Because the saboteurs may not be prayer warriors. For them, they'll use the power to get what they want. So we are at a situation where the rule of law, categorically, the independence of the judiciary is at serious test. And unfortunately, the judges are not going to come out and speak this. We have had the rule of law, the celebration. The CJ never talks about this. We have had all judicial functions. This is never talked about. It looks as if everything is what? We have had so funny tweets against the judiciary, demanding apology from them. The judiciary will not speak about that. Who is to speak for the judiciary now? Who is to speak for the lawyer, for the member of the bar? It's yourself. Nobody what? Else. When we speak and kill the rule of law, we are killing legal practice. We are also killing and undermining respect for human rights. Clients will not come to us because they know we have no solution. Even when we go to court, there is no solution. They remain with a problem. Moving forward, how do we see that these issues need to be harmonized? It would be fair if the powers to be would respect the rule of law. If there is a constitutional petition touching matters you want to investigate, what should you prioritize? What should be prioritized in the first place? All of us, when our law training, we are told constitutional matters are given priority. Once you file it, court suspends other business and gives attention to the constitutional. Is it the practice anymore? Constitutional cases are in court for even 10 years. Some, by the time they are heard, they are overtaken by events. It dies a natural death. So we would think that this matter needs to be handled carefully. And to all our brothers and sisters on the bench, today is Chaudhry, tomorrow is Kisakye, the other day is you. You don't know when your time was going to come. So this requires unity. We have the Ujoa. I know it has challenges itself, but we need to come out and speak against this kind of impunity. The Law Society has tried, and sometimes when we make some of these comments and critiques, they are misinterpreted. The radical move does not mean that we are there to fight or to do. The fight is for the right cause. The fight is to restore the rule of. Sometimes when you speak for the bench may never realize that what the lawyers are fighting for is to benefit them. Sometimes the bench again turns against the lawyers. Now, time has come for you to start fighting for yourself. If you're going to have such kind of things, you are going to be investigated about your decision. We agree there are genuine investigations that can be done, but the due process needs to be properly followed. So we are calling upon strict compliance with due processes. And also, issues of conflict of interest should be always prioritized. If you realize the matter raises serious eyebrows, there is a proper way to handle it, not only to show the public that I'm doing it because I have the power. That makes us lose confidence in the profession, lose confidence in the law, and also hate practice. Because if the practicing environment is not healthy, the practitioner will also not enjoy it. If the bench is not independent, still a practitioner will hate court. So, what are we telling the state as I wind up and the powers to be? We need to have so many issues addressed, and how do we help the situation? We need to strengthen judicial autonomy. How do we strengthen judicial autonomy? We need to review some of the laws. The Judicial Service Act. How the Judicial Service Commission also handled the issue of Justice Kisakye, it also leaves a lot to ask. Then, I've already talked about following the due process, but also we need to look into the issue of international practices. How else are such issues handled, so that they don't still affect the autonomy of the bench? And also, when a tribunal is established, people will have confidence in that tribunal, but not from day one lose total confidence. So we are saying all this because the bench is expanding. A lot of decisions are coming up. We don't know where our brothers and sisters will end if they make independent decisions. Also, we also don't know whether we shall ever be getting right decisions if we continue the way we are operating. So it's a call to all of us, members of the bar, especially senior advocates. I see so many coming out, women groups, the WPI, Women Pro Bono Initiative, issued a statement about this issue. Where are the senior lawyers in this country? Where are the senior counsel? What are you talking about this issue? We saw them coming out very fast on issues of modesty and what have you. What about issues of rule of law? Why do you go mute? These are the issues of concern that you should be prioritizing. We need to see everybody coming out condemning these practices, and also not only condemning, ensure that we protect the rule of law, the independence of the bench, and also protect our own practice. Otherwise, you and me will psychologically abandon practice because the environment is not health at all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mchivi. And right now we will have a few questions.
Any questions? Any questions in the house? Feel free to ask, and also those online are encouraged to ask questions. We are having some comments online, including one saying Dr. Matembe is always a high vibe. We appreciate the high vibe. One says Dr. Matembe vibe and energy is really inspiring. We need more Matembes. We thank you. We have taken the advice. Yes. Greetings, ULS panelists and Dr. Matembe. Glad to be here. We thank you, those online, and we're also taking questions from those who are in the house. Tackling all the issues that have been discussed about. We did not have the opportunity to take question by question after every speaker spoke, but this is a question and answer session. Ladies and gentlemen, please feel free. There was a concern about the Luganda version from the speakers. We shall have short sessions about that from the individual speakers who wouldn't mind making speeches in Luganda in summary of what has been shared for the benefit of the public that might not appreciate the English, but also for benefit of the general public that listens to Luganda. Ladies and gentlemen, please feel free. If we have any questions and questions, this is the session. Just a few minutes. Thank you. We don't seem to have any questions, both online and in-house. Let's proceed, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take this opportunity to invite our treasurer to address us.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me send greetings from the President of Uganda Law Society, Mr. Isaac Chimaze Samakade. Also, let me take this opportunity to thank our invited guests, Honorable Dr. Miria Matembe. Thank you for sparing time to come and share insights, share knowledge with the members of the society, Senior Counsel, Mr. Dennis Kusasira, and the Senior Counsel, Mr. Muchiripo. Thank you for coming to this special session. At this juncture, talk about a few issues. The first issue is the issue of Judicial Service Commission. This goes to the judiciary. Justice denied. Justice delayed is justice denied. As you all know, there have been several court cases. But the question is, why is it that judgment is given to some cases, rulings are given to some cases, once we pursue other cases? You never hear those cases being fixed. Senior counsel Mukiripo has talked about a case that has dragged for 2 years. We have a case that was filed by Mr. Brian, which put a stop on EGMs being called by members of the society. The matter is still in court, and so many others. So, if Uganda Law Society can file a matter in court, and it takes all that time to be fixed, then what about an ordinary person? What is the fate of an ordinary person? That is a question. That is something I need to talk about as not only the members of the bar, but also the judicial officers. Please expedite matters that are being filed by the society, members of the public. Let's not delay matters. Talking about the issue of accelerating action for gender equality. As the Uganda Law Society, we commemorated this day in Mbale through our council member, Edmund Nangulu. But this issue was brought out. We talked about the origin of Women's Day. The origin of Women's Day starts as far as back, in fact, it was first in 1917. That is in Russia, where women played a crucial role in fighting against the First World War. I believe if you studied history, you know the consequences of the First World War. It brought about dire consequences in terms of food shortages. There was no respect of human dignity. It is women that stood out and fought the regime, the Tsarist regime in Russia. And from that day until 1977, when it was officially recognized by the United Nations, women have always stood out. Women of the society, Uganda Law Society, let's stand out. Let's stand against the dictatorial actions of a few elements that tend to show a bad image of this country. The red lines have been talked about by senior counsel. The society is only strong when it is functional. We are seeing the disunity in the judiciary, where some members in the pursuance, in the performance of their obligations, are now subject to tribunals. What is so unfortunate? It is so unfortunate that a member of the judiciary who is performing his duties is now subject to a tribunal. Where does that leave the independence of the judiciary now? Will any member of the judiciary make any decision or make any finding that is probably contrary to a certain section of the government, of the society, and he or she moves out freely, knowing that I've done what I can, I've done what I think is the best in the situation, without any fear of being taken before a tribunal? We are seeing judicial officers going to exile. The judiciary, you shouldn't be seen to fight each other. In the same spirit, like I always say, that Why should members of Uganda Law Society fight each other? Find a member of the society taking the society to court. These are issues that can always be. This is a family. Uganda Law Society is a family. And talking about a functional Uganda Law Society, as council, we continue to put emphasis to ensure that the ULS house is completed within the next 2 years. We continue to make substantial payments towards the development and construction of this house. This is money that is contributed by members. This is members' money. This is your money, members of the society. Deposited, like I'm saying, over 300 million towards certificate number 18. For those who do not know, once an activity is done by the contractor, they issue a certificate. And currently, we are paying off certificate 18. The last update I gave, we had paid off certificate 17 that had a balance of around 150 million. So now, we are also making another contribution of 300 million towards the house. The benevolent fund. Members continue to suffer health-wise and also at the time of their demise. As a society, we came up with this idea that we should never leave our members stranded, leave our members alone in such situations. We came up with the benevolent fund. To date, I can assure the members that we have contributed over 150 million. Just 2025. That shall be put in the benevolent fund. We shall ensure that the spirit is achieved. I will once again, I will end by quoting Professor Oloka Onyango, who said that governments, institutions, individuals should ensure that we govern by the rule of law. In other words, every individual, every institution should strive to ensure that all human beings are equal before the law. We should never use the law to rule the nations or to rule the masses. In other words, it should be rule of law and not rule by the law. Once you rule by the law, that means you use the law to silence members, to silence citizens of this nation. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Allow me invite Ms. Doreen Atukonda, the Head Professional Development and Members Affairs, to say a word.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to stand here before you today to speak about professional development and members affairs. I take this opportunity to welcome our esteemed dear speakers today, Honorable dear Dr. Miria Matembe. We have Mr. Dennis Kusasira and Mr. Paul Muchibi. Here with us also our treasurer, and online our RNB council members led by President Isaac Semakade. Just to speak briefly about the Professional Development and Members Affairs Department. this year, I'm happy to note that we've already released our CLE calendar for the year 2025. Our members have been asking whether or when we're going to release it, and we were able to get approval from the Law Council, and it has been released, and I hope you, our members, have been able to see it on email and on our different social media platforms. Last year, in October 2024, we conducted a needs survey to understand some of the needs of our members in regards to professional development. This survey, we received results which majorly informed this CLE calendar for the year 2025. And it was majorly knowledge-based and skills. Majority of our respondents were interested in technology, and from this survey, 19.9% said they needed something to do with technology, which was followed by ADR at 13.2%. And under the skills responses from our respondents, they were interested in technical skills like drafting of pleadings, contracts, legal writing, report, and legal analysis. So this calendar that we have released for 2025 is tackling both the knowledge and the skills based, and we try to make sure that it cuts across all the legal practice areas. So on that note, we are welcoming all our members. In case you feel like you have the skills or you want to, the participants or the members to benefit, you can send us, emails and tell us, I'm interested in this training, I am able to facilitate, or I have the legal expertise or somebody you can recommend. We are welcoming that to make sure that this year, 2025, we are hitting a notch higher regarding professional development. And we call upon all our members to reach out to us to make sure that this year is bigger and better. So we thank you. We were able to also report to the Law Council and issue the CLE compliance certificate for the year 2024. And with this report, I'm happy to note that a total number of 4,294 members were compliant out of the 5,224 that were able to attend, which made a percentage of 82.19. In the year 2023, we had a total of 3,734 members being compliant out of 4,857 members who were in attendance, which made a total percentage of 76.8%. In the year 2022, we had 3,577 members being compliant out of a total of 4,549 members who were in attendance, and that percentage was 78.4%. So you can note that there's been a great improvement in our members attending the continuing legal education trainings that we are conducting. And this year, the calendar that you have seen, we have so many free trainings. If you're able to track and be in attendance, you can actually earn more than 30 CLE points without paying a coin. But we also urge you, because of the skills, because of the knowledge in these different trainings, areas of practice, you can actually also part with some money so that you can gain more, other than just looking out for, opening of a new lawyer, the pro bono day, the rule of law. There are certain skills that you will not, get unless you attend some of these trainings throughout the year. So it's not limiting. So you can choose. The year is just starting. We've just released it. So you have until 31st of December that you can choose and see which trainings that you want to attend. In regards to membership, we also have different categories for our members. We have our young lawyers that we take into consideration. Those are 5 years below, and their payment, total Uganda Law Society subscription fee is 760,000 per year. If you add for a new member who is joining this year, they'll also add 20,000 for their ULS ID. That fee is inclusive of Uganda Law Society subscription, which is 500,000. There's a contribution towards the ULS house, which is 100,000 shillings. There's a benevolent fund contribution, which is 75,000 annually. And then East Africa Law Society, which is $20, but equivalent, we take Uganda Law UGX 85,000. For our members who are between 5 and 9 years old, 9 years in practice, apologies, the total is 910,000. The difference there is the contribution towards the ULS house, which is 250,000 Uganda shillings. Then our senior members who are 10 years and above, the total is 1,160,000 Uganda shillings. And there the difference is the contribution towards the ULS house, which is 500,000 Uganda shillings. So we want to take this opportunity to thank our council for the able leadership. We don't take it for granted. And my acting CEO, who is not here, Christina Ward, the entire management team and staff, and the membership of the Uganda Law Society, I thank you and I bless you for this opportunity. So the upcoming activities this month, March, if you've seen the calendar, we have activities coming up, and on 20th of this month, we are organizing the land law training, and it will be a virtual training, and the fee will be 100,000 for our members and young lawyers. We consider you, and it's at the rate of 70,000 Uganda shillings. On the 26th of March, we will have the family law training, also virtual. The fee, it will be 100,000 for other lawyers and 70,000 for young lawyers. Climate justice training, it's a 2-day, 27th and 28th of March. It will be having 10 points. The fee is going to be determined, but we'll be communicating that as soon as possible. So kindly take note of that. Already the year has begun. We had the opening of the new lawyer. We had a webinar. In our regions, we already conducted 2 CLE events in Gulu and Arua, and those already, if a person is vigilant enough, those are already 9 CLE points for the year, even before the first quarter has ended. So kindly take note of the trainings, the emails, social media platforms, so that you're always aware of what is happening. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. We've come to the end of our R&B today. I wish to thank our speakers for taking off your precious time to join us for R&B. We are truly humbled by your presence and the knowledge you have imparted. I don't think, especially the ladies, I don't think we've been left the same. And the men too. Allow me also thank my colleagues that always work behind the scenes to ensure that we have an R&B every Thursday. I do not take that for granted. Thank you in a special way to Mr. Robert Jorua and Patience Gweni. Thank you all so much. And now I invite speakers for a photo session. Yeah.